Hello knitters, Barbara Benson here. I am an independent knitwear designer who also makes videos here on my YouTube channel, Watch Barbara Knit. If you'd like to know more about my knitwear designs, please check in the description below, and there you will find a link to my Ravelry pattern page where you can get patterns of mine to knit up for yourself. Also in the description below, you'll find links to a couple of social media outlets. One is the Watch Barbara Knit Facebook group. We'd love to have you come over and join us so that we can continue the conversations that we start here. Also, you will find a link to my Patreon page. Patreon is a service that connects creators with the people who like the stuff they create. It's sort of like a tip jar, and you can say help support what I am doing here and let me know that you like it. So check those out. Today, I am still working through all of the amazing stuff I got at TNNA, which is the National Needlework Association. I went to the trade show in June and got all kinds of stuff. I'll put a link to the haul video so you can see it all. And one of the things I came back with was the new Nomadic knits. Now, I did a look into the last issue, which was issue 3, which was all about Arizona and New Mexico area. And the new one, this is issue 4, and it is Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So real quick, what Nomadic Knits is it is a periodical. It comes out 3 times a year. Let me check and make sure the actual, I need to know. So it comes out in February, June, and October. It comes 3. I know that bi is 2 and quarterly is 4. I don't know what the word for coming out 3 times a year, but it is super cool. And their idea is that what they do is they go to a specific region, and each issue is focused very, very laser focused in on that specific area, and they find out about the fiber traditions and communities and everything that are going on in those specific areas. The first one I think was Florida, and then they did New York, and then the Arizona, New Mexico. Now we have Maryland, DC, and Virginia. So far they're mostly going around the United States. Maybe they'll hit some non-United States eventually, and I'd love to see that. So what we're going to do is look through the book, and so I can give you an idea, and you can decide whether or not you want to get it. In the front, fantastic. I love this cover because you've got this lovely lady wearing a beautiful top and knitting, and you know, I want the bag. Because I want all the bags. She also has on cool socks, just like a knitter should. And so we've got a table of contents and a beautiful field. Now, going into this, I know some things about the area. There's a few things that pop directly into my mind, obviously one of which is Maryland sheep and wool, and a couple other things. But part of the amazing thing about these periodicals, these issues, is that I get to learn about stuff I never knew about. So we start off with some fairly extensive letters from the editors, from both Becky and Melissa. They are the people who behind this, and they have a dog who is very funny. So we start out, and so we're going to see some pictures of the actual, obviously, knitting patterns that are in the book. This one is this amazing, look at that. It's got cables, and I love that going down its arm with the contrasting color. And that is, they're talking about Shalimar is the name of the sweater, but also Shalimar yarns, which I didn't know I've heard of Shalimar yarns and I've worked with their stuff. It's beautiful. I didn't know they were in this area. So that is really cool. And so you can read about her, and you got lots of interesting, I'm going to say interesting information, a lot, because they really do go in depth. And then we have the Dandelion Mittens look. How cute. And I love the fact that they're reflected. That is a beautiful, beautiful detail. And the cuffs are gorgeous. And then there is the hands, the palms. Oh, it's so pretty. Absolutely gorgeous. And so this says knit from the bottom up in the round, thumb gusset, traditional Norwegian style shaping. I don't know what that means, but that's cool. And the yarn is Little Fox of Amy Sulzer of Mechanicsville, Virginia. Interior designer by day. Crime fighter, no. Indie dyer by night. And inspired by the Blue Ridge Mountains. So she does absolutely beautiful work. And again, this is a yarn dyer I've never heard of. I'm going to have to go look them up. And then this is what really, I think, sets this particular periodical. We have this entire article about the Chesapeake Bay. Can you see that? So, look, crabbies. Now, I definitely think of crabs when I think of Maryland. But there's a lot of really interesting, as I said, theme, interesting information, but it's in depth and there's some history. And then we have Annapolis. Frankly, when I looked through this book, I was just gobsmacked. This entire book is worth it for this single pattern. It is an epic, I mean epic, beautiful, amazing piece. I'm not saying that everything else in the magazine isn't awesome, because it is. I'm just saying that for this one pattern alone, this magazine is worth it. So everything else is just gravy. And it is beautiful. And it is in, it's called Annapolis, and it is in Neighborhood Fiber Company yarn, which is one of the things when they said Maryland and this area, the first things that popped into my head, because I'm very familiar with her yarn and I knew it was in the area, and kind of it was like, if it's not in here, is it really this region? Also, they have wonderful quotes throughout the books. I think they're great. And I'll find another picture of this, but I just, oh, look at that. It's amazing. Then we have the Harrington Hat from Blue Skin Yarns, and Debbie Martin Blue Skin Yarns, based out of Russburg, Virginia. Again, one that I haven't heard of, but it's got a pretty hat and a fun pom-pom and a donkey. So donkeys are awesome. A quote from Tori Amos, one of my favorite musicians. And then this whole article about Francis Chester and the Sheep Revival. Okay, so apparently this is Francis Chester and this is a sheep, and just, you need to read about how this individual is trying to sort of reboot the sheep industry. And apparently he built Sestari Mill, which, man, mills, there are not a lot of mills in the United States anymore. And it says, Francis built the first Sestari mill in 1981. He says that Diane and the bank both told him he was crazy, but the mill is still in operation today. Since then, Sestari has provided yarn to local yarn shops in every state in the U.S., as well as Japan, Canada, and Australia. So I'm going to have to find this yarn. Cheap. And a picture of the mill. So they went to the mill and they did all this investigation. And then we have some cool socks that we saw on the cover. And so Urban Girl Yarns is one of the ones they're talking about. And that is really cool. And then Breedelicious Yarns. So I'm not sure if these socks take two different kinds of yarns, or you can do them in either yarn, but that is very interesting. You need to read about both of these designers. I keep using, both words start with a D. I mean to say dyers. It's so cool. And then we have a boxy sweater that is really nice. It's got a beautiful detail on the arm. Nice braids, and a Jim Henson quote. Can't go wrong with Jim Henson. Magpie Fibers. Now, this is a yarn that I've just recently come into contact with, and it is a gorgeous yarn, and that is also from Maryland. We have a recipe for an old-fashioned, because yay! And then we have a long cardigan that is called Potomac, and it is from Haverland. Carol Ocker dyes yarn full-time in Lexington Park, Maryland. I didn't know Maryland had so many amazing indie dyers. It's so cool. Now this has what is awesome pockets. And then I'm pretty sure that this is the back of that cardigan. So you can see the details there. And then I mentioned Neighborhood Fiber. So here we have an entire article about Neighborhood Fiber Company and Carita Collins, and talking about some kind of intense stuff, which is important, because the thing that I got out of this particular issue is community, talking about how the fiber industry is integrated into the communities and the communities where people live, and how the businesses are a big part of it. And one of the things that I've always noticed about Carita, and that they talk about a lot, is her support for her community of Baltimore, and how she really puts her money where her mouth is. And they did some fundraising for, you know what? I don't want to explain all of this because I really want you to read this. It is really a wonderful, good, and inspiring, I think is the best word. It's talking about how you can positively affect your community, regardless of what you do. You might say that, you know, it's just yarn, but it's not. We're part of our communities, and it's our responsibility to make sure that they're safe for everyone. So that is a cool article, and look at that cool wall. It's a cool picture. And then we've got another pattern, and this is really super fun. They are the Black Rock boot toppers, and they list Kim Dye's yarns, Knot House yarns, Haute Bohème, and Sistari and Breedelicious, which we already talked about. So what it is they've knit up these boot toppers in multiple different yarns so you can see what they look like. And I think that is a really, really cool way to present something, and it gives you that idea. And then here's another pattern. It's a cowl. This is the Anacostia cowl in Backyard Fiberworks. Alice O'Reilly is an indie dyer from Silver Spring, Maryland. I need to get to Maryland. That's what this book, it makes me want to plan a trip. And then this article, I've never seen, I've seen a couple, but this is a really great article. It's called A Different Kind of Tension, and it's talking about the stress that knitting puts on our body. And Melissa Kemmerer says she worked as an orthopedic physical therapist for 10 years, and she talks about carpal tunnel and how to try to relieve that stress, and then talks about it's this extensive, and then there's an alpaca face, an extensive article that you really, I think, are going to get a lot of useful information out of. We've got another pattern. This is the cover one, that top on the cover. Great Falls, and by the yarn is Dragonfly Fibers, another amazing yarn dyer in Maryland. Look, beautiful. Look at this building. That's so cool. And another, it's just so many beautiful patterns. This one is a shawl knit on the bias rectangle, 2 colors. It's called Blue Ridge. Absolutely beautiful. From Duck Duck Wool, which I absolutely adore that name. Duck Duck Wool. I've got to get a hold of their yarn because, my business name is Tumped Duck. And, ducks of a feather flock together So Sandra Miracle and her husband were both attorneys living in Northern Virginia, so not Maryland, but close. Beautiful yarn. And then, so that front part, that is the articles, that is the pictures of the patterns, and then we get into the back part, which are the patterns themselves. So there's not that much, but here we go. I told you. Whoop. There we go. Look at that. It's oh my gosh, it's just amazing. I mean, I want one so bad. It is gorgeous. It comes in extra small through 2XL. So, and it's the shoulder width. And it is this is in worsted weight yarn. You need cable needles. I mean, this is not a quick and easy kind of thing, but oh my gosh, it is absolutely epic. And we got lots of instructions and charts and a schematic. You always need a schematic for that kind of garment. The Anacostia Cow by Laura Ayler. You can see that. You can see it better than in the picture. You can see that it's lined, which I think is really neat. And you can see this illustration gives you a better idea of how it works. So that is fun. Potomac, that's again the cardigan that we've seen a couple times and that I showed you on the back. Sizes extra small through 4XL. That is fantastic. Here is the schematic for it. The boot toppers. And it's, as I said, it comes in like, so it's got instructions for fingering, sport, DK, worsted, Aran, and chunky. So you can make these boot toppers in any yarn you want to. I mean, seriously here, people. I love that. I love that they give us so much. There's even a giant chart, but I don't want to show you the whole thing. There are the mittens. Those are by Tanis Gray. And those are the little fox yarns. Beautiful stuff here. Some charts. Great Falls. I don't know if I ever mentioned the name. That is the top that's on the front. I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. Natalia something. I really don't want to slaughter it today. Schematic. There are the super cool socks with the pink toes. I like the pink toes. So that's knit in Urban Girl Yarns fingering weight. And then the Harrington Hat by Jody Brown. So again, you can see it's got extensive information. Ooh, there is a better shot of the beautiful shawl. And that's by Melissa Kemmerer. What else? Oh, and this is cool. You couldn't really see that in the other picture. Look, it's got the cable going down the back. That is fantastic. Okay, I think I've got it all. I've got it all. Oh, that boxy sweater. This is what the shoulder looks like. So it's got this detail. I think I'm going to probably go to Ravelry and see if there's more pictures of that, or go to their website. There'll be a link in the description below to that. So there we go. That is your look through issue 4 of Nomadic Knits. It is beautiful. It has beautiful patterns in it. It has beautifully written articles. It has some important articles in it, learning about the mills, learning about the work that Neighborhood Fibers is doing in their community. And I think that is the word. The first one I looked at, the one about New Mexico, the takeaway from it was, I guess the word I would say is tradition. All the very deep traditions of the indigenous peoples and the amazing information that was provided about that region. And it just felt so very old, and that was wonderful. But this one I think the word that came to me was community. This one is about the fiber community in this area. It's about, I mean, I didn't know there were so many amazing dyers in Maryland and the surrounding areas, and how they all interact with their communities. That is what I took away from this particular issue. And I can't wait to see what they bring in the next issue. It just makes you feel way more connected. So I loved it. I'd love to hear, if you've already seen it, what you think about it in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give it the thumbs up, click that like button. And if you would like to be notified whenever I upload a new video, please subscribe to my channel and select notifications. Thank you so much.